Hey everyone, welcome to a new Envato Tuts Plus tutorial. I'm Adi Pordira, and in this video I'm going to introduce you to my new favorite code editor. Now, along the years since I started coding, I've been using various editors from Coda and TextMate to Sublime Text and Atom, and every single one was a little bit better than the one before it, or at least in my opinion. Now this new one that I've been using for I think about 2 months now, is called Visual Studio Code. You might have heard about Visual Studio, and the big surprise here, at least for me it was when I first read about it, was that it's made by Microsoft. And Microsoft nowadays, it doesn't have a very good reputation among developers because of Internet Explorer, right? You associate Microsoft and Internet Explorer, and IE is not a very good browser. But I gotta say that, at least for me, Microsoft redeemed themselves for IE because this editor is just fantastic. I absolutely love it. You can grab a version at code.visualstudio.com. It's free and it works on Windows, macOS, and Linux. Now, in this video, I'm going to give you a quick tour of the editor, show you the features that I like the most, and also talk a little bit about my experience with it. So, just to give you a quick tour, it has a very simple interface, and that's one of the reasons why I like it so much. You have these sidebars here on the side, which you can move to the right if you want to, or you can hide them completely. And the first sidebar actually allows you to switch between panels. So this is the Explorer. This is Git. Great, we'll talk about this in a little bit. Search. This is Debug. And this is for extensions. And if you go to View, you have a little bit of control over how your UI looks. So you can switch between these 5 panels here. You can enter full screen or Zen mode, and Zen mode is basically a full screen, but without any kind of sidebar or status bar or anything like that. You can move sidebar to the right, as I was saying. You can toggle it altogether if you want to do that. And that's pretty much it for the UI. Now, I loaded a project here. It's called GruntDP. It's something I've been working on. And as you can see, when I hover on my open folder here, I have a couple of options. I can create new files, folders, I can refresh the contents. And if I have a bunch of folders expanded, I can hit this little button to collapse all of them. Also, you have contextual menus, so if I right-click here, I have a couple of options. If I right-click on a folder, I can create new file, new folder, and so on. Basically, all the stuff that you would expect. You can also use the shortcut Shift-Command-P to open this panel here that gives you access to a bunch of actions within the editor. So, for example, if I want to do Git stuff, I can type Git and I have a bunch of options here for Git. Or if I want to install an extension or change the theme, for example, I can say Preferences, Color Theme, hit Enter, and that's going to open the Color Theme panel. You can also go to a specific file by hitting Command-P, and you can search within your file. So if I want to open my SCSS files, I can do that here. And something that I absolutely love is the built-in terminal. So I can hit Control and tick, and that's going to open a terminal at my root folder here, which is great. I don't have to open another terminal from the OS, for example, and then just work my way into my currently working folder with CD, for example. So that's a very, very handy feature to have. And speaking of features, let me actually show you what features I like about this editor. And the first one is, of course, the terminal. It's built in, it's easily accessible. I don't have to open another external terminal. It's right here when I need it. I can even have multiple terminals. if I hit this little button here, yeah, you can see I can switch between them using this drop down, and I can delete them altogether. And I can hit this little button to hide it. Really cool if you're working with tools like npm or grunt or gulp, stuff like that that requires command line access. This is awesome. Another feature that I absolutely love is the Git integration. Currently I have a repository set up here. It's connected to GitHub. So whenever I make a change, for example, I'm gonna, I don't know, go to my index.html here and I'm gonna say hello, hit enter. You're gonna see a little notification here that lets me know, hey, you have one change that's not committed. It gives me that change. It shows me a comparison between the old and the new, so I can review it. And then if I want to, I can enter a message and I can hit Command Enter to commit that. And then I can go here, I can do sync, and that's gonna sync this version with the repository I have on GitHub. Likewise, if I do change from another computer, if I upload those changes to GitHub, I can then sync those back to my local repository here. And I can do that from the command line, Command-Shift-P. I can do git sync, and that's going to do the same thing. And there's also an integration into the editing window here. So you can see that I have this little green line. It tells me, hey, this is added content compared to what you had before in your repository. So these great little visual cues are very, very handy. A very nice surprise that I had when I first started using the editor was that Emmet, or Zencoding, if you know it by that name, is already built in. So you can, for example, go and type div with class of container with an ID of test. You hit tab and it expands to the correct HTML markup. I did not have to install any kind of plugins. It just worked. Really good surprise there. Something else that I really liked, and I really like actually, is the multiple cursor system. So if, for example, I select this word here, app, it automatically highlights the other instances of the word in that file. And if I hit Command D, it's going to select those instances, and then I can start to edit those instances and type whatever you want. Basically, it's multiple cursor editing. I've seen this before in other editors, of course, but the others, if I remember correctly, did not highlight the other instances when you selected something. Some people might not like it. I like it personally. I think it's a great addition. Now, something else I really like is the settings page. And some of the other editors I was using had some great settings pages, but some really lacked in that aspect. So, for example, Sublime Text, I believe, they only had a configuration file that you would edit, nothing more. VS Code, if we hit Command, comma, also has a configuration file, but it's a little bit better thought out. So it gives you the default settings first, and this is a JSON file, by the way, settings.json. It gives you the most commonly used settings, as you can see here, and then it gives you user-specific settings. So if you want to change a setting here, you can simply go, let's say this one, it's true, but if I want to set it to false, I can click on this little pencil icon. I can hit false, and notice how it automatically copied it in the user settings, so I don't have to, and it changed its value to false. I can even change it again to true here if I want to. So that's really good. It also automatically added a comma here after the last pair. Really cool. Now, something else that I was anxious to try out was the IntelliSense system. And the IntelliSense system is basically a supercharged syntax highlighting, and auto-completion system. And it goes a little bit beyond of what you would expect from a normal code editor. So to give you an example, if you go to a CSS file, for example, right, and you highlight this paragraph with a class of test, it actually gives you a little bit of HTML to let you know that, hey, this is how you can use this particular selector. Or if you hover on a property name, it gives you a description of that property. How cool is that? I mean, if you're just learning CSS, this is gold. It tells you exactly what a property is doing. Line height, for example, this is what it says. And if you change a value here, so for example, 1.4, it also gives you a bunch of measurement units here, and you can change between them. Something else that I like is, I'll actually change this back. Something else that I like is how the color values are represented. You have this little box here that shows you the actual color. Really cool. So if I change this to red, and it changes that, and also gives me a bunch of suggestions for red. Here's for green. And as you scroll through them, you can also see a hex value. Very nice. I really enjoy this system. Another place where I saw it working is, for example, in a package JSON. So I'm using npm, I'm using grunt here, and I'm loading a bunch of dependencies, right? So these are plugins, and if I hover on one of these plugins, it tells me the plugin description and also its latest version. So here's grunt, here's this image min, here's grunt watch. Very nice addition. I mean, I like how the system ties into what you're doing and actually helps you be more productive. Now, another feature that I really like is the whole extension system and how you can preview and apply color themes. So, for example, if you hit Command-Shift-P and you type in color, it opens up the color theme. And just by scrolling through these, you can see a preview, but it doesn't actually change the color theme to what you just selected. To change, you just have to hit enter. You can also search the various color themes, but I think this is a great way of previewing and applying new color themes. They also have a big marketplace. You can search for extensions right here, or you can go to their website, hit extensions. That's going to open the marketplace. And you can see you have plugins for a bunch of things like this Microsoft SQL Server, what else? VS Code icons. This is a plugin that I actually installed. It gives me all of these icons here for file types and folders. You have a bunch of linters, and you can filter all of these in the bottom. So if you go to themes, you're going to see the whole collection of themes. And from what I see, they're all free here. I'm not sure if they're going to introduce paid plugins, but for now, everything I've seen in the marketplace is free. And you can actually click on one of these items. You can copy this command here, go back, hit Command-P, paste that in, and it's going to search that plugin in the marketplace and give you an option to install it from here. And that's a very quick look at VS Code and some of the features that I really enjoy. Now, what about my experience with it so far? Well, it's been great. I gotta tell you, I do not regret switching from Atom to VS Code at all. I really enjoyed using it. I'm gonna keep using it for probably a very long time. And my experience so far has been positive from all perspectives. Maybe as I'm using it more and more, I will find some downsides. I guess that's to be expected. Nothing is perfect, but from what I've seen so far, thumbs up for it. Thank you very much for watching this tutorial. Please, if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the area down below. Until next time, I'm Adi Pordila. Take care.